My name is Cameron Brooks. I'm 30 years old, and I had just returned home from a grueling week of investment banking deals to find my house completely dark and eerily silent, slowly realizing that my entire extended family, parents, Robert and Helen, my brother Tyler, aunts, uncles, cousins, and their children totaling 19 relatives across 5 cars, had departed for their annual luxury holiday vacation without telling me, using a group chat that had deliberately excluded me from months of planning and coordination. What made this betrayal infinitely worse was discovering that I had unknowingly funded their entire $18,700 vacation through automatic payments and pre-authorizations they had set up on my accounts, treating me as their personal ATM while celebrating my exclusion from the family experiences my money was creating. What my family didn't know was that their cruel conspiracy to use my financial resources while systematically excluding me from their communications and celebrations was about to trigger the most devastating vacation collapse in family history, because every reservation, rental, and prepaid activity was booked under my name and credit cards, giving me the power to destroy their holiday in real time while they were already at their destination, enjoying my generosity without my presence. The realization that my entire extended family had vanished for their annual holiday celebration came gradually as I walked through my empty house, noticing small signs that something significant had happened during my absence. Missing suitcases from the guest room closets, absent cars from driveways where relatives usually parked when coordinating group departures, and an unusual silence from phones that typically buzzed with family coordination messages during vacation planning periods. My role as the family's unofficial financier had developed over several years of successful investment banking career growth, beginning when I started contributing to family gatherings and gradually expanding to cover entire vacation expenses as my income increased and my relatives became more comfortable with my generosity and financial support. Cameron's job pays well, so he doesn't mind helping with family expenses. My mother Helen would explain to relatives who questioned the elaborate accommodations and activities that characterized our family vacations, treating my financial contributions as natural rather than generous gifts that enabled their luxury experiences. The pattern had been established through incremental increases in my financial responsibility for family events, beginning with splitting restaurant bills and eventually evolving into sole funding for resort rentals, flights, entertainment, and all expenses associated with bringing 19 family members together for extended holiday celebrations. Family vacation planning is so much easier when Cameron handles the bookings and payments, my brother Tyler would tell people, apparently viewing my financial management as a service, rather than recognizing the substantial personal investment I was making in creating memorable experiences for relatives who rarely acknowledged the cost or effort involved. The coordination of large family vacations required months of advance planning, reservation management, and financial commitment that I had been handling through automatic payment systems and pre-authorized bookings that ensured seamless travel experiences for extended family members who had come to expect luxury accommodations and premium activities. Brooks family vacation packages include luxury resort rentals, rental cars, prepaid activities, restaurant reservations, and entertainment expenses. I would explain to booking agents who were impressed by the comprehensive nature of arrangements that created all-inclusive experiences for nearly 20 family members. But despite my role as the vacation planner and sole financial contributor, my inclusion in family communications and coordination discussions had been gradually diminishing as relatives seemed to view my participation as optional once the financial arrangements were secure and confirmed. Cameron probably won't come anyway because he's always working, family members would say during preliminary vacation discussions, apparently assuming that my dedication to the career that funded their vacations meant I didn't want to participate in the experiences I was creating and financing. The group chat that I discovered had been operating for months without my inclusion contained detailed vacation planning conversations, activity coordination, travel logistics, and excited discussions about the luxury accommodations and experiences that my money was providing while my presence was treated as unnecessary. "Can't wait for the family vacation without drama," one message read, apparently referring to my absence as elimination of drama rather than recognizing that my financial contributions were enabling their relaxation and enjoyment. The coordination messages revealed that my family had been actively planning to exclude me from communications while ensuring that my financial support continued through automated systems they had established to access my accounts and credit cards for vacation expenses. Cameron's payments are all set up automatically, so we don't need to involve him in the planning discussions, Tyler had written in the group chat, treating my financial contributions as guaranteed resources rather than generous gifts that should have included me in decision-making and celebration. My work schedule as an investment banker was demanding but manageable, requiring long hours and frequent travel, but not preventing participation in planned vacations that were scheduled months in advance with sufficient notice for professional planning and time-off coordination. Investment banking requires dedication and long hours, I would explain to family members who assumed my career prevented vacation participation. But planned family trips can be accommodated with advanced scheduling and proper client management. But despite my repeated explanations about work flexibility and vacation availability, my family seemed to prefer the narrative that portrayed my career as incompatible with family fun, allowing them to exclude me from planning while maintaining access to the financial resources my career provided. The Christmas holiday season, when I discovered their collective departure, had been particularly busy at work, but I had assumed that family vacation planning was proceeding normally, and that coordination messages would include updates about timing, logistics, and any changes to arrangements I was funding. Family communication during vacation planning usually includes everyone, I thought as I reviewed my quiet phone messages and empty email inbox, not yet understanding that my absence from family discussions was deliberate rather than accidental oversight. The empty house that greeted my return from work felt different from typical quiet evenings, carrying an atmosphere of abandonment rather than temporary absence that suggested something significant had occurred during my business travel. The rental cars that were usually parked in extended family driveways during vacation coordination were absent, along with the suitcases, travel accessories, and vacation preparation materials that typically cluttered family homes during departure periods. Where is everyone? I thought as I called my parents' house to find disconnected phone service, checked my brother's apartment to find it empty, and drove past relatives' homes that showed obvious signs of extended absence and vacation departure. Have you ever returned home expecting normal family communication only to discover that everyone you love and financially support had deliberately excluded you from experiences your money created? That's exactly what I was beginning to understand as evidence accumulated that my family's absence was coordinated, planned, and intentionally hidden from the person whose generosity made their vacation possible. The phone call I was about to make would reveal the cruel extent of their conspiracy and begin the most devastating financial reckoning in our family's history. The devastating phone call that would expose my family's conspiracy began when I finally reached my father Robert through his emergency contact number, expecting a simple explanation for the unusual quiet and empty houses that had greeted my return from a demanding week of investment banking deals and client management. "Dad, where is everyone?" I asked, assuming there had been some miscommunication about vacation timing, or that family coordination had encountered last-minute changes that required different departure schedules or travel arrangements. "We're at the beach resort in Florida," Robert replied casually, his tone suggesting that my absence was expected rather than surprising. "I assumed you were staying with Aunt Martha for the holidays, since you weren't responding to family messages about the trip." The suggestion that I was with Aunt Martha, who lived in a different state and whom I hadn't seen in months, was clearly a fabricated excuse designed to explain my absence to anyone who might question why the family financier wasn't participating in the vacation he had funded. "Dad, I was never invited to this vacation," I said, my confusion beginning to transform into suspicion about the deliberate nature of my exclusion. "And there haven't been any family messages about Florida trips or holiday travel plans in any communications I've received." "Well, we figured you were too busy with work to join family vacations," Robert responded defensively. "And Tyler said you probably wouldn't want to come anyway since you're always focused on business deals and client meetings." The characterization of my career dedication as incompatibility with family enjoyment was particularly insulting, considering that my focus on business deals was generating the income that funded their luxury resort accommodations, rental cars, prepaid activities, and gourmet dining experiences. My work schedule is demanding but manageable for planned family vacations, I replied, and I specifically keep holiday periods available for family time. When did you plan this Florida trip? And why wasn't I included in any discussions or invitations? The silence that followed my questions was long enough to suggest that Robert was consulting with other family members about how to respond to inquiries they hadn't anticipated, apparently having assumed that my exclusion would go unnoticed or unchallenged. The vacation was planned over several weeks, Robert finally admitted, but we handled most of the coordination through text messages and group planning sessions. Maybe there were communication issues with your phone or schedule conflicts that prevented you from participating in the planning discussions. The vague explanation about communication issues and schedule conflicts was obviously fabricated, because my phone service was perfect, and my schedule had been specifically kept clear for potential holiday family activities that never materialized into actual invitations. What group planning sessions? I asked directly, beginning to understand that my family had been coordinating extensive vacation arrangements without any intention of including the person who was funding their entire holiday experience. Tyler organized most of the planning through family group messages, Robert said, his discomfort with my questions becoming obvious as he realized that his explanations were revealing the deliberate nature of my exclusion rather than supporting claims of accidental miscommunication. The conversation ended with Robert promising to check on the communication issues and ensure that I was included in future family coordination, but his tone suggested that my questions were inconvenient rather than legitimate concerns about systematic exclusion from experiences I was financing. 3 hours after my conversation with Robert, my phone buzzed with a forwarded message that Tyler had accidentally sent to me instead of the family group chat, revealing the cruel truth about my exclusion and their celebration of successfully manipulating me into funding their vacation without my participation. Is he actually missing? Perfect. It worked. Family vacation without the banker breathing down our necks about expenses, Tyler's message read, clearly intended for other family members who were celebrating my absence from the vacation I had unknowingly funded through automatic payments and pre-authorized bookings. The accidental message was followed immediately by Tyler's panicked attempt to retrieve the text, but the damage was complete, as I finally understood that my exclusion wasn't the result of miscommunication or scheduling conflicts. It was a deliberate conspiracy designed to exploit my financial resources while eliminating my presence from family experiences. Shit, that wasn't supposed to go to Cameron, Tyler texted frantically. Ignore that message. There was a group chat mix-up and some messages got sent to the wrong people. But the wrong people explanation couldn't erase the evidence that my family had been actively celebrating my exclusion while enjoying luxury accommodations, gourmet meals, rental cars, and prepaid activities that existed entirely because of my financial contributions and advance planning. The realization that 19 family members had coordinated to exclude me from vacation planning while ensuring continued access to my financial resources was both heartbreaking and illuminating about their true priorities and their view of my role in family relationships. Family vacation without the banker breathing down our necks about expenses. I repeated Tyler's words, understanding that my relatives viewed my presence as supervision rather than participation, and my financial contributions as entitlements rather than generous gifts that deserved gratitude and inclusion. The systematic nature of their exclusion required coordination and planning that involved multiple family members across different households, suggesting that my elimination from their vacation experience had been discussed, agreed upon, and executed with deliberate precision. But what my family had failed to consider was that their conspiracy to exclude me while exploiting my financial resources had just provided me with complete moral justification for implementing the most devastating vacation destruction in our family's history. The vacation they were enjoying at my expense was about to experience some very sudden and catastrophic changes, because every reservation, rental agreement, and prepaid activity was booked under my name and secured through my credit cards, giving me immediate power to eliminate their accommodations while they were already at their destination. Have you ever discovered that people you loved and financially supported had been systematically conspiring to exclude you from experiences your money created while celebrating your absence as a successful manipulation? That's exactly what I was experiencing as Tyler's accidental message exposed their cruel conspiracy. But their celebration of successfully eliminating me from my own vacation was about to transform into panic as they learned what happens when you bite the hand that funds your luxury lifestyle. The moment of devastating clarity that followed Tyler's accidental revelation about their successful conspiracy to exclude me while enjoying my financial support was also the moment I realized that their systematic exploitation had just provided me with complete moral justification for implementing the most comprehensive vacation destruction imaginable. Standing in my empty house while 19 family members celebrated their successful manipulation of the person funding their luxury Florida resort experience, I began calculating exactly how much power their conspiracy had accidentally given me over their ability to continue enjoying accommodations, activities, and services that existed entirely at my discretion. The comprehensive vacation package I had unknowingly funded included luxury resort rooms for multiple families, rental cars for transportation, prepaid activities like dolphin tours and dinner cruises, restaurant reservations at expensive establishments, and entertainment expenses for nearly 3 weeks of holiday celebration. Brooks family vacation bookings include $18,700 in accommodations, transportation, activities, and dining experiences. I confirmed while reviewing my credit card statements and automated payment confirmations that revealed the staggering scope of expenses they had authorized without my knowledge or consent. But more importantly, every single reservation, booking, and prepaid service was registered under my name and secured through my credit cards, giving me immediate authority to modify, cancel, or revoke access to accommodations and services they were currently enjoying at my expense. The two-phase revenge plan that crystallized in my mind was both elegant and devastating. First, destroy their current vacation by systematically eliminating all accommodations and services while they were already at their destination, then permanently end their access to my financial resources for any future family activities or expenses. Phase 1 will teach them what happens when you celebrate excluding someone from experiences they finance, I said to myself as I began making the phone calls that would collapse their vacation in real time. Phase 2 will ensure they never again have the opportunity to exploit my generosity while excluding my participation. The first call was to the luxury resort where my family was staying, explaining that I needed to cancel all reservations immediately due to unauthorized use of my credit cards and identity theft concerns that required immediate investigation and booking revocation. Mr. Brooks, we show 5 rooms booked under your name for the extended Brooks family group, the resort manager confirmed. These are substantial premium accommodations with ocean views and resort amenities. Are you certain you want to cancel all reservations effective immediately? I am completely certain, I replied. The bookings were made without my knowledge or consent by family members who are using my credit cards fraudulently. I want all rooms canceled tonight and the credit card authorizations revoked immediately. The resort manager explained that immediate cancellation would require the current occupants to vacate the premises by morning checkout, creating exactly the kind of accommodation crisis that would teach my family about the practical consequences of their financial exploitation and deliberate exclusion. The second call was to the rental car agency, where I explained that vehicles currently being used by my family were part of unauthorized transactions that needed to be terminated immediately with car recovery and returned to rental locations. We can dispatch recovery teams to collect the vehicles tonight, the rental agent confirmed, but this will leave your family members without transportation during their vacation. Are you prepared for that level of disruption to their travel experience? They're not my family members when they're celebrating my exclusion from experiences I'm financing, I replied. They're unauthorized users of my credit cards, and I want the vehicles recovered immediately regardless of their inconvenience. The third call was to the tour company that provided dolphin watching, dinner cruises, and other premium activities that my family was scheduled to enjoy throughout their extended vacation, canceling all bookings and requesting refunds for prepaid services. Mr. Brooks, these cancellations will affect 19 people across multiple activities. the tour coordinator warned, and some of the experiences are already in progress or scheduled for tomorrow morning. The disruption will be significant. The disruption is entirely appropriate, I confirmed, given that these people used my credit cards without permission while deliberately excluding me from the vacation I unknowingly funded. The systematic cancellation of accommodations, transportation, activities, and restaurant reservations was creating a comprehensive vacation collapse that would leave my family stranded at their holiday destination without the luxury services they had been enjoying at my expense. But the most satisfying aspect of the cancellation process was knowing that my family's first indication of problems would come when resort staff knocked on their doors at dawn to inform them that their rooms had been canceled and they needed to vacate immediately. The booking cancellations will take effect between 5 and 6 a.m., I confirmed with each service provider, ensuring that the unauthorized users of my credit cards understand the consequences of their fraud first thing in the morning. The comprehensive scope of services being canceled meant that my family would wake up to discover that their accommodations, transportation, activities, and dining reservations had simultaneously disappeared, leaving 19 people without any of the vacation infrastructure I had provided. Phase 1 complete, I said to myself as I finished the last cancellation call. Now they get to experience what their Florida vacation looks like without my financial support, followed by permanent elimination of future access to my resources. The text message I sent to the family group chat that had excluded me was simple and final. Happy holidays. Enjoy your vacation. The brevity of the message would initially seem innocuous, but they would soon understand it as notification that their financial lifeline had been permanently severed. But while my family was sleeping peacefully in resort rooms that would soon be unavailable, I was already planning phase 2 of their education about the consequences of systematic financial exploitation combined with deliberate social exclusion. The permanent termination of my financial support for family activities would ensure that their Florida vacation collapse was just the beginning of comprehensive lifestyle changes that would teach them the true cost of treating generous family members as disposable ATMs. Have you ever had the power to destroy an entire vacation while the people who excluded you were sleeping peacefully in accommodations you were paying for? The satisfaction of implementing justice while they remained unaware was exceeded only by the knowledge that their mourning would bring complete understanding of how much they had taken for granted. Their celebration of successfully excluding me from my own vacation was about to transform into the most expensive wake-up call in family history. The systematic destruction of my family's vacation infrastructure began at exactly 5:47 a.m. when resort security started knocking on doors to inform 19 family members that their accommodations had been canceled and they needed to vacate the premises immediately due to credit card authorization issues and fraud concerns. My phone, which had been silent throughout the night while I slept peacefully in my own home, began exploding with missed calls, frantic text messages, and desperate voicemails as my family's luxury Florida vacation collapsed around them in real time with devastating precision and coordination. "Cameron, there's some kind of mistake with the hotel reservations." My mother Helen's first panicked message read, "They're saying our rooms are canceled and we have to leave immediately. Please call the resort and fix whatever credit card problem is causing this confusion." The assumption that their accommodation crisis was a mistake or confusion, rather than deliberate consequence of their conspiracy, revealed that my family still didn't understand the connection between their systematic exclusion and the sudden elimination of services I had been providing. But as additional service cancellations continued throughout the morning, the comprehensive nature of their vacation collapse made it impossible to dismiss as coincidental problems rather than coordinated retaliation for their financial exploitation and deliberate exclusion. "The rental cars are being repossessed," Tyler texted frantically, "and the Dolphin Tour Company says our bookings are canceled. Something is seriously wrong with all the vacation arrangements, and we need you to call these companies immediately." The growing panic in family messages revealed that they were beginning to understand that their accommodation, transportation, and activity problems were related, but they still hadn't grasped that their vacation collapse was intentional rather than technical difficulties. By 7:30 a.m., my phone showed 127 missed calls from various family members who were experiencing simultaneous crises with hotels, rental agencies, tour companies, and restaurants that had all canceled their bookings and terminated services overnight. "Cameron, please answer your phone," my father Robert's increasingly desperate voicemails pleaded. "We're stranded at the resort with 19 people, no rooms, no cars, and no activities. All of our vacation arrangements are falling apart, and the service providers are saying the credit card authorizations were revoked." The realization that credit card authorizations had been revoked, rather than experiencing technical problems, was beginning to dawn on family members who were starting to understand that their vacation collapse might be connected to the person they had systematically excluded while exploiting his financial resources. "Is this because we didn't invite you to the vacation?" Tyler's text message asked directly, finally acknowledging the connection between their exclusion conspiracy and the comprehensive elimination of services that had made their holiday experience possible. But the most satisfying message came from my cousin Jennifer, whose family had been particularly vocal about celebrating my absence from vacation planning while ensuring that their children could enjoy premium activities and accommodations at my expense. "The resort manager says that Cameron Brooks canceled all the reservations and reported unauthorized use of his credit cards," Jennifer texted to the family group chat. "Are we really stranded because Cameron is angry about not being invited on vacation?" The question revealed that my family was finally beginning to understand that their systematic financial exploitation, combined with deliberate social exclusion, had consequences that extended beyond hurt feelings to include elimination of the luxury lifestyle they had been taking for granted. The restaurant reservations at expensive establishments throughout their vacation were also being canceled as maitre d's called to confirm that the Brooks family bookings were no longer valid and that tables would be released to other customers. Premium dining reservations for 19 people have been canceled effective immediately, restaurants confirmed when family members called to protest. The booking authority has revoked all authorizations and requested full refunds for prepaid meals and entertainment. The comprehensive elimination of dining arrangements meant that my family's vacation experience had been reduced from luxury resort amenities to scrambling for basic accommodations and affordable meals, while managing 19 people without transportation or planned activities. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of their crisis was the way different family members began blaming each other for the conspiracy that had triggered my retaliation, as the practical consequences of their exclusion plot became impossible to ignore or minimize. "This is Tyler's fault for sending that stupid message about excluding Cameron," some relatives were texting. "If he hadn't revealed the plan, we wouldn't be dealing with canceled reservations and stranded family members." "Everyone agreed to leave Cameron out of the planning," other family members replied, "so we're all responsible for this situation and need to figure out how to fix it before the vacation is completely ruined." The finger-pointing and blame distribution revealed that my family's unity in excluding me was fracturing under the pressure of facing consequences for their collective betrayal, as individual families began calculating their personal losses from the vacation collapse. "My kids are crying because the dolphin tour is canceled," one relative complained, "and we don't have money to pay for new hotel rooms or activities. This vacation is turning into a disaster because of family drama that should have been handled differently." The characterization of systematic financial exploitation as family drama that should have been handled differently revealed that some relatives still didn't fully understand the moral implications of their conspiracy or the appropriateness of my response to their betrayal. Meanwhile, my phone continued buzzing with increasingly desperate attempts to reach me, as family members began offering apologies, promises of changed behavior, and guarantees that future vacation planning would include me if I would only restore their current accommodations and services. "We'll invite you to every family vacation from now on," Helen promised in a voicemail, "and we'll make sure you're included in all planning discussions. Please call the resort and restore our room reservations so we can finish this family holiday together." But the promises of future inclusion rang hollow when they were motivated by desperation about losing luxury accommodations rather than genuine remorse about systematic exclusion and financial exploitation that had characterized our family relationships for years. The most satisfying aspect of their comprehensive vacation collapse was knowing that 19 family members were learning simultaneous lessons about the practical value of the family member they had conspired to exclude while celebrating their successful manipulation of his financial resources. Have you ever implemented perfect justice that taught entitled people exactly what their lives looked like without the support they had been taking for granted? Their frantic calls and desperate messages were exactly the accountability that years of financial exploitation had earned. But their vacation collapse was only phase one of their education about the consequences of systematic exclusion combined with financial abuse. The permanent transformation of my relationship with family members who had systematically exploited my financial resources while celebrating my exclusion from experiences I funded was completed during my own luxury vacation to Switzerland, where I used the money that had been budgeted for their destroyed Florida trip to create the most peaceful and fulfilling holiday experience of my adult life. The Swiss resort I selected featured mountain views, gourmet dining, spa services, and winter activities that provided exactly the kind of relaxation and enjoyment that I had been financing for ungrateful relatives who treated my generosity as entitlement while excluding me from the benefits of my own investments. Solo travel allows you to focus entirely on your own preferences and interests, the concierge observed, as I planned activities based solely on my personal desires rather than coordinating with 19 family members who had never shown equivalent consideration for my participation or enjoyment. The social media posts I shared from Switzerland showed spectacular mountain scenery, elegant dining experiences, and luxury accommodations that created a stark contrast with my family's continued struggles to salvage their collapsed Florida vacation, while scrambling for basic accommodations and affordable meals. Peaceful holiday in the Swiss Alps. I captioned photos of my resort suite and gourmet breakfast. Sometimes the best family time is time spent away from toxic people who mistake generosity for weakness. The indirect reference to toxic people in my posts was directed at family members who were undoubtedly monitoring my social media while dealing with the ongoing consequences of their vacation collapse and their growing understanding that my financial support had been permanently eliminated. Meanwhile, my family's return from their ruined Florida trip was accompanied by desperate attempts to schedule family meetings, arrange reconciliation conversations, and restore access to financial resources they had finally realized were voluntary rather than obligatory aspects of our relationships. "We need to talk about what happened during the vacation," Robert called to say, "and discuss how we can rebuild family relationships that obviously became strained due to communication problems and misunderstandings about planning and participation." The euphemistic language about communication problems and misunderstandings revealed that my family still hadn't fully accepted responsibility for their systematic conspiracy to exclude me while exploiting my financial resources for luxury experiences I wasn't permitted to enjoy. "There weren't any communication problems," I replied calmly. "You deliberately excluded me from vacation planning while using my credit cards to fund accommodations, activities, and services for 19 family members. That's financial exploitation, not miscommunication." The directness of my response apparently shocked Robert, who had expected that sufficient time and diplomatic language might allow them to restore access to my financial support, without fully acknowledging the moral implications of their betrayal. "Family members should forgive each other's mistakes and work together to maintain relationships that are more important than temporary disagreements," Robert continued, apparently treating systematic financial abuse as a temporary disagreement that could be resolved through forgiveness rather than accountability. "Systematic financial exploitation while celebrating my exclusion isn't a mistake that gets forgiven," I replied. "It's a pattern of abuse that gets permanently ended through elimination of the resources you've been taking for granted." The conversation revealed that my family's attempts at reconciliation were motivated by their desire to restore access to my financial support, rather than genuine remorse about their treatment of someone who had been generously funding their lifestyle while being systematically excluded from family experiences. "Future family vacations won't be the same without your financial contributions," Tyler admitted during a separate conversation, "and we realize now that we took your support for granted while not appreciating your presence and participation in family activities." The acknowledgement that family vacations wouldn't be the same without my financial contributions was exactly the kind of honest recognition that should have prevented their exclusion conspiracy. But it was too late to restore relationships they had permanently damaged through their greed and cruelty. You'll need to plan family vacations based on what you can afford rather than what I can fund, I replied, because people who celebrate excluding someone from experiences they finance don't deserve continued financial support or future generosity. The finality in my statement was apparently beginning to penetrate their understanding, as family members started to realize that their financial exploitation had eliminated access to resources they had been depending on for years of luxury lifestyle choices. 6 months after their vacation collapse, I received updates from relatives who were struggling to maintain the same level of family gathering experiences without access to my financial resources and planning coordination. Family reunions are much smaller now, my Aunt Linda reported, because most people can't afford the resort accommodations and premium activities that Cameron used to provide for everyone. The reduction in family gathering size and quality was exactly the natural consequence of eliminating financial subsidies that had been creating artificially luxurious experiences for people who had never appreciated the source of their comfort and entertainment. Tyler is having trouble organizing any family events, another relative mentioned, because he doesn't have the budget or planning experience that Cameron provided for years of successful family vacations and celebrations. The practical difficulties that family members were experiencing in maintaining their preferred lifestyle without my support validated every aspect of my decision to permanently end relationships built on financial exploitation rather than genuine mutual affection and respect. But perhaps the most satisfying outcome of eliminating toxic family relationships was discovering the peace and contentment that came from investing my resources in experiences and relationships that actually appreciated and reciprocated my generosity, rather than taking it for granted while excluding me from benefits. Your family's conspiracy to exclude you while using your money revealed their true character, my therapist observed, and your decision to eliminate that exploitation created space for healthier relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. The wisdom of choosing relationships based on mutual appreciation rather than blood connection had become obvious through the contrast between my peaceful solo travels and the ongoing family drama that continued to affect relatives who were still trying to recreate luxury experiences they could no longer afford. Have you ever discovered that eliminating toxic people's access to your resources created immediate peace and long-term happiness that exceeded anything their presence had ever provided? Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is revealing their true character clearly enough that you can make informed decisions about their place in your future. The family members who celebrated excluding me from experiences I funded learned exactly what their gatherings looked like without my financial support, while I learned that chosen solitude was infinitely preferable to forced generosity toward people who mistake kindness for weakness. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share your experiences in the comments below. Remember that people who celebrate excluding you from family experiences while depending on your money to fund them will learn your true value when that funding permanently disappears. See you in our next story here on Her Sweet Revenge.